Showtime! The Capital G Show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So guys, as you have probably already heard by now, we are getting a new TCG Exclusive Synchro monster that is set to be released in Judgment of the Light. aaaand Dragon didn't seem to think that this card is all that great, but I have to disagree with him. I think that this card is amazing, and it's really for one reason. I'll explain that in a second. The name of the card is Angel of Zera. It's a light fairy synchro monster, level 8. 2800 attack, 2300 defense. It requires one tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters to summon, so it's generic. And the effect says this card gains 100 attack for each of your opponent's banished cards. During the standby phase of the next turn, this card was banished. Special summon this banished card. You can only use the effect of Angel of Zera once per turn. So is it just me, or does it seem like we've secretly entered this new phase of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where every synchro monster set to be released is going to have an incredibly well thought out effect that's not too powerful, that's inherently balanced, and good enough to see competitive play? Because in the past 3 days, I've talked about 2 synchro cards, and they both seem to fit this description. And one of them is TCG only, and one of them is OCG only. So these cards don't really have any correlation. They're not coming out in the same set or anything like that. I mean, maybe it's just a blip, but I'm thinking like it's more of a trend that Konami is just putting more thought into the synchros that they're releasing. Now, aaaand Dragon didn't think that this card is all that. I'm going to have to disagree once again. I think that this card is fucking amazing, and it's for one simple reason. It doesn't have to be on the field to activate. This card is not like DD Survivor. It's like DD Scout Plane. I was reading the text of the card, and I was like, oh, okay, it's going to say that it has to be face up on the field, and then it didn't, and I was like, holy shit. Obviously, this card gets around the obligatory bottomless trap holes and deep prisons of the world, and, you know, I'm all for inherent protection, but the real key happens after this card is dead and in the graveyard. Like, if you're playing Agents, you remove it for Master Hyperion. Okay, well, it comes back to the field. If you remove it for Blackluster Soldier, same thing happens. Hell, I even think that you now have a reason to run multiple Chaos Sorcerers in the deck. The fact that this card can activate from the graveyard gives it so much utility, because when you summon it to the field, it is a 2800 beater. And I mean, personally, I think that the attack gain is just kind of icing on the cake. You're probably going to get about 1 to 200 on average, but that's still not the easiest thing to take down. And even when it dies, even if your opponent dark holes it, if they run it over in battle, it's as simple as summoning a Hyperion, summoning any chaos monster, you know, using something that banishes cards from your graveyard, and this guy comes back to the field ready to just whoop your opponent's ass. And I do understand that some of the higher tier decks have their obvious counters to this card. If you're playing Dragon Rulers, you can pop it with Dracossack, you can steal it with Big Eyes, Spellbooks could pop it with Jogan, or they could bounce it back to the extra deck with a card like Spellbook of Fate. But for all intents and purposes, this format right now, as we know it, is basically over. You know, there aren't any more major events right now, and the regional circuit has pretty much dried up. So you're not going to be playing Angel of Zera in this format. You're going to be playing it next format, and who knows what's going to be the top deck of next format. So I'm really just going to look at this card for what it is, and not specifically how it's going to fit into this meta, because this meta is pretty much over. It's also worth noting the card art on this card is also just really, really good. So definitely going to applaud Konami for making an overall just really, really strong card, one that is balanced, and one that I think, you know, with a couple of other good cards, could take Agents back to like tier 1.5 or something like that. Let me know what you guys think of this card. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and take care. Subscribing makes life happy.